Okay, we're now in the era of, I guess we're going to have some change. Got a quote in there. The quote comes from Lord Tennyson's Idylls of the King that I read when I was in 10th grade. The full quote is: "The old order changeth, yielding place to the new, and God fulfills himself in many ways, lest one good custom should corrupt the world." Kind of heavy. I don't know why I remembered that, but I did. Okay, we're going to change. Equality was in the air. Uh, we had several things that pointed to that. Number one, we had just allowed all males to vote. So we've got universal manhood suffrage, which is fast becoming a reality. Ladies, not quite yet, but that time will happen. With universal, I use universal again in the wrong sense, with manhood suffrage, we elected Andrew Jackson as our first probably non-royal president. This was seen as a victory for the common man. And along with the common man, we had to have something for all those common folks. And that was to be the common school. Now, I'm going to show you a series of items. First, you'll see a large, and I'm going to call it the blurb. First, you'll see a large blurb pertaining to that item, and then in the next slide, the blurb will be shortened to a small cryptic note, and then the next blurb will appear. So let's try and see how that works. The common school would be free and open to all. It was thought that no other system, least of all the dual system used in Europe, was acceptable for a democracy. Okay, see how that slinks back into free and open to all. The next item, the assumption behind the common school, that the common school would be of such excellent quality that all parents would be willing to send their children. What a wonderful idea. Thirdly, the common school would be common. I mean, it's not in the way we might use common today, but it would be common in the sense that all the children would attend, and that it would serve as a unifying force to weld communities together. It was also thought that if children from all classes would attend the same school, that they would understand each other, and the class conflicts that were causing so much difficulty in Europe might be avoided. I think I said this before, but I'll say it again. Wouldn't that be nice? Fourth, the common school would be publicly supported through taxation of the whole community. And you can imagine that was going to be a point of contention, because the idea of someone without children putting in money for someone with children is going to be frowned upon in some circles. So that's going to be a point of contention in the future. That the common school would be publicly controlled through elected or appointed public officials responsible to the whole community and not to any particular political, economic, or religious group. God, these guys were way ahead of their time. And sometimes things work out and sometimes they don't. Most board members today are there to grind an axe or to represent some particular group in the community. And we didn't make this. We didn't achieve it. That the common school would be non-sectarian in character. Mann's view, and that's Horace Mann, and we'll talk about him later on, was that morality could be taught without teaching the tenets of any particular sect. That also is going to be a point of contention, and that is a point of contention, just as the public supported one was a point of contention then, is a point of contention still today. That the Common School provide the basic knowledge and skills essential to enable students of diverse backgrounds to assume the responsibilities of citizenship. And this was all taken from Lawrence Kremen, and I don't have the date on there, and I probably should be flogged for that. I'm sure it's the Kremen that's in your bibliography. Aims of education. We're going to get into something that's going to come back and go away and come back and go away, and that is, what is the point of school? And in this day, the question was, are we going to give our kids information? Are we going to give them training? And in these days, training was the yardstick. Now that's a little confusing. Let's move on. Here's a quote from a gentleman by the name of Clark, who will come back sort of on the edge of things a little later on. He said, they cared not what they knew as long as their minds were trained. He's talking about the parents of the children in the schools. And training the mind was the thing that we were going to do in this particular era. This is Charles W. Eliot's Clark. Charles W. Eliot is coming. Be ready for him. Mental discipline is the theory that we're talking about. We are going to train mind. This is an extension of something called faculty psychology. According to the theory of faculty psychology, the mind is divided into different faculties. One of these faculties is reason, another one is memory, another one is will. There are more. We'll stop right now with those. Mental exercise was likened to physical exercise. Just as an athlete exercises his or her muscles, an intellectual would exercise their reason, their memory, and their will. How are you going to do this? Hard, disagreeable subjects were supposedly the ones that gave the best training. How do you develop your reason? By reasoning. How do you develop your reasoning? By studying subjects that call that faculty into play. How do you develop your memory? By memorizing things. How do you develop your will? By sticking to hard, disagreeable tasks. And I think we can agree that hard, disagreeable subjects are the ones that have the most hard, disagreeable tasks. And who are they? Latin, Greek, and mathematics were the ones that gave the best training. By long tradition, they gave the best training. What did this do for the relatively new subjects? Well, history, science, modern languages were in the Me Too category. We give good training. We test your will. We make you memorize. We test your memory. Did I say memory? I meant reason. A gentleman by the name of Herbert Spencer, towards the turn of the century, wrote a famous essay, What Knowledge is of the Most Worth. And in his essay, he came down on the side of the sciences giving the most training, because they not only developed reason, memory, and will. You had to pose hypotheses, you had to solve problems, you had to pose solutions. So he was a big fan of the sciences, and a lot of people jumped on that bandwagon.